So I was out at Ike's and I happened to look down when I was checking out, and there were these mouse guards. And it's like, oh, look, a little tiny mouse guard that was for a nuke was $7.68 or something. And then next to it were the 8 frame and the 10 frames, and they were actually a little more expensive. It's like, this is nuts. So, and then I said, oh, well, Amazon will be a lot cheaper. And that's true. It was, you could get a $1.58. Of course, you have to buy 12 of them, but you can get them cheaper depending on what you're doing. Absolutely. So somewhere between $1.50 and $16 for a mouse guard, it seemed to be a little excessive. Go to the next slide. Thank you.
All you need is a table saw.
Yeah, so there's a couple of ways you can make your own. One is you need a table saw with a
dado blade.
With a dado blade. Exactly. I was trying to say dado, and I kept thinking dado. George Dado, right? Yeah, it's dado blade. So this is actually a George creation here. It's just a the standard reducer, basically sliced. Yes, you could have one of the reducers. So this is actually, Howard already talked about, you could take that and make a mouse guard. You could actually go with slightly larger grid and just use the grid as the mouse guard. Mice can chew through the wood, but they can't chew through the metal. So that's the only detriment that I've seen to these. I'm running a couple of them, and I do see places where they've been chewed. Not chewed all the way through, but the mouse was obviously chewing on it to try to get
And
through.
the bees chew this stuff.
And the bees chew, yeah. If you're seeing chewing on the inside, it's the bees. If you're seeing chewing on the outside, it's probably mice. Next. How do you do this? This is upside down, but it's the ruler's upside down. But the point of it is you can find some dumpster diving flashing here. And okay, great. What do I do with it? Well, let's start with, let's measure. So I went out the first time I was doing this, I went out and I measured. It was 12.25 for these 8 frame hives. Great. Cut them all to 12.25, went out to put them in, and oh, wait, that one's 12.75. This one's 12.5. This one's 11. And they were all different sizes and all different shapes. And it was, such a pain in the butt. So, yeah, get your stuff. Next slide.
The 8 frame equipment runs non-standard.
And even the 10 frame bottom boards can run non-standard. They're not all the same. Right? You think they are, and then you get out and you go, oh, it's 14.75. No, it's not. It was 15. Well, crap, I cut it to 14.75, so I got a 1/4 inch gap. What do you do with that? Well, see, you can't quite see the black tape on here, but you can use some Gorilla Tape to cover it up. The bees will go through through the paper tape, but they won't go through the Gorilla Tape, and they don't do a very good job going through duct tape either.
Wine corks work good.
Say again?
If you need a 1/4 inch, take a wine cork.
A wine cork, yeah.
Perfect. I use it.
Absolutely. I've been clean and sober for 35 years, so wine corks are a lot harder for me. Okay, next one. Be careful when you're dealing with this stuff. You should probably use a pair of gloves, at least for the hand that's holding your metal. Very simple process here. You get out your drill, you put the 3/8 inch drill bit, 3/8 of an inch, and you drill your holes. Okay, well, where do I drill my holes? Well, I'll just drill them all across the bottom in a line. Well, no, you should probably drill them kind of, you can see how well I did with this. They're not perfectly round. The bees don't care. The mice do, because they can't, if the mice can't get its head through, it can't go in. So again, you just drill 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, as many as you want. If you think you drilled too many, then throw some duct tape on it. In the winter, you might want to decrease the amount of airflow into the hive. So I use duct tape to do that. Another tool that's kind of nice to have, you don't have to go out and buy them, but you will need a pair of these. You know, you need some metal shears. Then again,
You guys said there's dumpster diving too.
depends on the scissors. I've got some Cutco scissors that can cut through this without a problem, and it's still cut paper, no problem. These are kind of nice if you don't have tools that Ed has for sheet metal bending. These work really nicely. You can do your own bending in a cheap way. Like that's all bent up, fine. I'll just use these to straighten them up and get them set. You can also just get a nice piece of wood to help pound it out. The hammer's nice with that. Just pound it out straight. Drill your holes. Drill a couple holes in the bottom so that it goes into the bottom board, and you're done. How much time did I spend? I don't know. Probably more than I should have. Would it have been easier for me to drive out to Ike's and buy them, or just order from Amazon? Sure.
Not as fun.
Not as much fun. The other question is, how many hives do you have? If you've got one hive or two hives, just buy the stuff from Amazon. If you're talking, 10 or 15 hives, well, then you might want to dumpster dive. Are you cheap? Frugal? Then dumpster diving might be for you. But there's no wrong answer to this. Just these are methods to do it. The wrong answer is don't put a mouse guard on.
So one thing to remember too, is we're going out to like multiple out yards, put all this stuff together in a kit. I use the 3/4 inch construction or the 1/2 inch construction fabric squares he was talking about, and then shears and a staple gun, and all goes into the toolbox. And I do 175 hives. I'll put mouse guards on them very quickly. Because with that method, you can cut it to length while you're at the hive. So all my bottom boards are also different dimensions.
Yeah, exactly. You bought them all at the same place. How come they're different? Or not? Or you bought them from 5 different vendors, and they all different. By the way, I'm a backyard beekeeper. I have one primary yard with 7 hives, but I also manage another apiary with 4 hives, and another apiary with 3 hives. And right now, I'm managing the Bondsville site. So yeah, that's a great point of having all your stuff. Okay. Oh shoot, clip, and you're good to go.
I think I got an idea. It's always dangerous. Ed, listen, Ed. So instead of one of the events that we're going to do, instead of a conference, is we're going to do a social event at a dumpster. And it's going to lead it. And he's going to dumpster dive and figure out everything that's in there that could be used in beekeeping. You up for it?
Is this an all you can eat?
That's it. Okay, stay tuned.
I'm not ready to.
That sounds like you're kind of right. You and Chris,
I gotta
don't try together.
A robbing screen, can that be effective as a mouse guard?
Yeah, robbing screen can be, depends on the size of the, no, robbing screen generally has got like large openings on the side, but it can be if you set like a 1/2 inch grid, 1/2 inch hardware cloth that the bees can get in and out of, but the mice can't get through.
How about the top? We have some robbing screens that are.
It's
open
3/8
at
of an
the top.
inch. The mice can get in if it's bigger than 3/8 of an inch.
3/8, sorry.
Are they gonna climb the screen and go down?
Yeah.
Smart, absolutely. Yeah,
Did you ever try drywall corner bead? Works just as good.
yes.
It snips, buy it in there, and it's got the holes over drilled in there.
Yeah.
All you have to do is just
Drill a
cut the
couple,
right side.
extra in there is what I did. Yeah.
It's just-
Depends on again, the bottom boards are all a little bit different. So the snow's on this one, so you can't quite see. That bottom board had a lip that was that tall, and then the opening. So that corner bead wouldn't work. It wasn't tall enough.
Well, you turn it the other way. So the angle's facing out, so it pushes up against the entrance.
Yeah, but the problem was that the landing board was here. Then there was a piece of wood here, and then the opening, and so the top of that was too, basically it was partially open. So that one didn't work.
I always put the reducer on first.
Yeah.
And then you have maybe a gap, maybe 2 inches.
Yeah, good point.
Just leave that up against there and you're
Yeah.
done. They're gonna get in that hole.
Right.
And then,
Isn't it such a nice feeling though when you go up to your hive and open the top and a mouse runs out? It's done some good as a beekeeper. You've given that mouse a nice place to live for the winter.
My horror story was out at that 252 apiary. I pulled the lid off of these hives that I wasn't managing at the time. That was my first trip out there to look. I pulled the lid off and I looked in and there were 5 sets of eyes looking back up at us.
Come on, raise your hand if your hive is, if ever your hive is acted as a mouse home. Raise your hand. There you go. Everyone, new beekeepers, look, it happens, right?
I keep them in my store to put cats.
I one time put the heater on after the mouse was already in. Mouse head was sticking out.